Nelson Mandela's fearless fight against apartheid has inspired Americans for more than 50 years. He and slain U.S. civil rights leader Malcolm X shared a common admiration for each other. Malcolm X's daughter, Ilyasah Shabazz, is here with us in the New York studios, as well as Arise News contributor Frankie Edozian. Welcome back to you, Frankie. You were with us all evening. And Ilyasah, thank you so much for coming in. I really do appreciate it. Did you ever get a chance to meet Nelson Mandela?
I did. I think it was in 1998. I went with President Clinton, and I was a part of the United States delegation. That was then spearhead for President Mandela. It was the economic business development. Yeah.
And what were your impressions when you met him? Because we can't get enough of those stories.
Right. Just really such an amazing man. You know, it was a little sad because you knew that he spent most of his youth, or that part of his youth where he was married, in prison, you know, for 27 years. And so it was remarkable, just remarkable meeting him. His humanity was, you know, just amazing.
Yeah, so many people that have had the good fortune of meeting him talk about his larger-than-life presence. I heard someone say that when he walked in the room, Frankie, he owned the room.
He lit up. You know, he was from a royal family, which is one of the things that have been sort of like left out about his, when people talk about his accomplishments. But before he went to jail, he was brought up to be a king. He was brought up. So he always had this thing about, no matter who is oppressing me, I am not inferior to anyone. So I'm just curious, when you met him, did you feel that radiance that people talk about meeting him even when he was older?
I did. I felt a sense of empowerment. You know, it was a lot of dignity. Same thing with his wife then, Winnie Mandela, you know, one of my idols. So yes, I did. It was a great presence.
You know, so interesting to hear you say this, Ilyasah, considering who your father is. He was no shrinking violet. He is an icon in American history, fought for the rights of African Americans in this country. I wonder, where did you see the similarities between your father and Mr. Mandela, and where did you see the divergence?
I don't know. Well, the only divergence would be that President Mandela was able, you know, was alive, you know, and so he was able to come back to his family. But there was such similarity in that they fought for you know, they fought against injustice, that they fought for the complete freedom, liberation for their people, that they didn't ask for anything in return, that they did this. It was a sense of commitment, you know. They saw everyone as brothers and sisters under the fatherhood of God. So I think that there were so many similarities.
A lot of similarities, and of course, you know, Mr. Mandela's past is very vast, but, you know, many might argue that their methods were different, though.
How's that? I mean, I don't think there's difference.
You're good. Well, you know.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
Okay, you want to ask me that? Well, just in that. Well, let's talk about the perception. The perception of your dad, Malcolm X, was, and he didn't coin this phrase, but, you know, by any means necessary. You know, if violence was necessary, then violence was what was to be called for. And Mr. Mandela, at least now in the latter part of his work, was known for his gentleness, known for nonviolence, more associated with, you know, another American icon, Martin Luther King.
So I want to say that my father was killed when he was 39.
Yes.
Right? And I'd be very happy when the diary comes out, but he was killed at 39. It was a man of great compassion that could stand up against such injustice. And we always forget about the social climate that existed. You know, the climate was horrendous, and this is the same climate that Nelson Mandela spoke about. When Nelson Mandela, after 27 years being imprisoned, not because he committed any crimes, but because he fought for justice for his people, why many people around the world supported him. Right? The reason why many people around the world support and love my father. You know, we see that with the sales of the autobiography and so forth. But there really was no difference. My father was 39 years old. I'm sure if he was 70, Would he still have the same energy and drive? Probably just as much as Nelson Mandela did. Mm-hmm. But my father never said, let's go out and beat anyone up. He said, stand up, wake up, clean up.
Got it. Good point. Thank you very much. What was your reaction when you heard of Mr. Mandela's passing?
Gosh, my heart went straight to his children. I know Zinzi and Zendi, and especially to Winnie Mandela, because she still continues to speak so highly of him, and I love her so much. And really, it was a lot of her work that helped to make the world know about Nelson Mandela, So.
Yeah. I'm just curious, since you come from a family where you you shared your parents essentially with the whole world, what do you think the Mandela children are going through now, since they also shared their Madiba with all of us?
Right. Well, I know that they have got to be very proud of their father. He was a man, in the truest sense. And I think that, that's something that you can be very proud of, especially when you go on and, choose your own mate, that you have standards, by which to make your choice. But I know that it's difficult because he really is such a great icon. He loved freely, he loved genuinely, and, how many people are like that?
Right. And here's the real thing, and this is the humanity of it, Ilyasah. Not only did your mom, your family have to share Malcolm X with the world, had to bear the grief of him being shot with the world, you also have to bear the mantle of keeping his legacy alive. So I wonder what your advice would be to Mr. Mandela's remaining daughters and grandchildren on how to keep his legacy alive.
Well, I think it's extremely important, and I'm sure they understand the importance of preserving history, because we're often told that we didn't have history because we didn't preserve it, we didn't write, we didn't do all these things, which is untrue. I think it's just extremely important that the family plays a part in preserving his history, because they will make sure that it's preserved accurately. And I think that's the most important thing.
Indeed. We're going to have to stop the conversation right there. But Ilyasah Shabazz, so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for coming in. Frankie, you sit tight right there. Don't you go anywhere. We'll talk to you some more. Just sit tight for a second. Don't go anywhere. We'll let you get up in a second.
Okay.